All right, good evening, everyone. We're going to get everything started here in just another minute or so. We're getting the final details all tuned up, and we will get going shortly. All right, hello, everyone. Welcome to another wonderful active Claremont membership meeting. This is our March 2021 meeting. Hopefully everyone can hear and see me okay. If at any time you guys have any trouble hearing or seeing anything, just go ahead and type right into the chat and I will make some modifications to audio and video on the fly. As some of you know, I'm still fresh at this and we are still working out a few technical glitches and things like that. But we are getting closer and closer and getting everything dialed in. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Joe Pareca. I am the active Claremont president for 2021. Really glad that you all could be here this evening. We have a fantastic presentation lined up this evening. It's funny, when we were discussing what we were going to talk about for the upcoming meetings, I kind of had this idea from a YouTube video I watched about someone getting scammed, unfortunately. And I thought, with everything that's going on right now, tax time, COVID, all this stuff, it's really, really important to be aware of what's out there. And when we announced this topic via email a couple days ago, I already got actually several responses from members that were like, this is a great topic. I know people that have been victim of scams, so it's wonderful to learn a little bit more. They're very creative, they're very tricky, and we're going to try to get a little bit of education tonight on how to keep our money safe. And so tonight joining us is actually Sergeant Robert Ewing of the Claremont PD, and he has prepared a presentation for us that's going to talk about a myriad of different scams and things like that to look out for. So as always, we will have a little bit, we will have a presentation, and as you guys have questions, please pop them into the chat, and then once there's a nice break in the presentation, we can go ahead, ask a couple questions, and then of course at the end, if there's any outstanding questions, I will be happy to ask Sergeant Ewing those as well. I'm going to do my best as always to wear multiple different hats. I've got a couple different screens going on in front of me here. I've got my eye on chat. I've got my eye on the meeting. So if at any time I miss anything in the chat, please just go ahead and retype it in. So without any further ado, we're going to get started. Hey, Robert. Well, thank you for joining us. I'm so glad that you could be here. And we're all really looking forward to your scams and security presentation. So kind of like I said, you go ahead and take it away. When we get some questions, I'll kind of find a spot to politely interrupt you and ask you some questions, and we'll go from there. So go ahead and take it away.
All right, Joe, thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. Anytime we can inform the public on how to protect themselves, whether it's hardening your home or protecting your finances, it's always a good thing to do, to be able to reach out to those people and provide that information. So hopefully tonight we can enlighten a lot of folks, make sure that all that information is out there. And if we get to the point where I speak a little too fast, just let me know real quick and I'll try to slow it down for you. Sometimes I tend to get going a little bit more than not. I'll try not to kill you with death by PowerPoint. I know you can read and write, so a lot of these slides I'll kind of touch on them briefly and then try and give you time to have any questions that may pop up, pose them to me. That way we get answers going then. If not, there's not a lot of information here as far as crazy in-depth things.
Yeah.
But the very last couple slides actually are a lot of the websites where I had a lot of the information, whether it was for scams or frauds, or there's a link to the Sheriff's Department in regard to real estate fraud. So those will be the key things to get on later on if you want to research that yourself.
Great.
We'll kind of go through the topic and see what we can get going on for this evening.
Wonderful.
All right. So scams and security is the main topic for tonight, and it's kind of wide-reaching. It goes everything from identity theft to the scams that you receive over the phone or internet. You receive that phishing email. But identity theft is one of the fastest-growing crimes in America. Working that caseload as a former detective here, it was one of those where it was very interesting to see a lot of the new cases that would come across my desk. and how very intelligent these people are in taking your money and using it in a fraudulent way as opposed to using it for quote unquote good, good reasons.
Yeah.
But it is, like I said, one of the fastest growing issues that America is facing right now. And with the COVID year still in effect, and we're trying to get past that, this quote came from the Federal Trade Commission as of October 21st of 2020. So in the 6 months of this last year, people reported losing more than $117 million in just 6 months of this first
Wow.
year, compared to a total of 134 million for the entire year of 2019.
Wow.
So you
That's
can
alarming.
see, and we've all seen the news where the EDD scams, where they
Yep.
have billions of dollars outstanding. It's along the lines of that, where there's flaws in the system that are allowing these folks to create these crimes and commit these crimes.
Hmm.
So how does it happen? There's many different ways, whether it's identity theft or just your generic scams. And you can see by the list there, stolen mail is an easy one. We get mail theft reports throughout the year. You hear about the phrase the porch pirates. They're stealing
Yeah.
mail packages around Christmas time primarily, but anytime if you're not retrieving your mail and bringing in each and every day, that's a prime example of something where you're going to leave that enticing little tidbit of stuff out there that they want to take from you. So it runs the whole gamut of those, whether it's the phone calls, you get those robocalls coming in, all the way down to breaking your car, breaking your house, and taking paperwork that way.
Hmm.
Scams runs the whole gamut of anything that's out there now. Home improvement scams. Do you want solar for your house? Some of those can be fraudulent. Auto repair scams. You'll get people to come to your door and say, "Oh, I noticed the dent on your bumper. I can repair that for $500." And they do a quick little buff job and maybe a little spray paint, and you're out $500, and it washes off in the next rainstorm.
Yeah.
So the scams are all out there. They can run the whole gamut of all the way down to real estate fraud, lottery winnings. I have this lottery winning ticket that I can't go cash myself, but if you give me $10,000, I'll give you this $1 million ticket to go cash in. It always boggles the mind when you get to the point where if it sounds too good to be true when you're talking about it after the fact,
Yes.
it probably was at that time.
Yeah.
One of the other ones we've received in the past couple of years is you get this phone call from little Johnny, and Johnny says, Grandma or Grandpa, I'm in jail in Mexico. Can you send down bail money? And it's one of
Hmm.
those where, depending on how they play the call, and these people are very good at their calls, they make it seem like your grandchild might be in custody somewhere else, and they are in dire need to get out of that, especially in Mexico,
Yep.
dire need to get out of that country. So a lot of people have fallen for that scam as well. So, like I said, it runs the whole gamut of different things there, whether it's straight identity theft or fraud and scams. So just kind of an idea of what we've got there. COVID. This is, like I said, been the year to remember, or hopefully we can forget it very soon,
Yes.
because it keeps on giving. We're turning the corner. We are, changing our tiers as we go, but I think by summer we should be in a better spot. But a lot of these things have come out where there's been all these COVID scams. A lot of it started when we first hit COVID with the PPE scams, or the personal protective equipment,
Hmm.
your gloves, your hand sanitizers, the masks. We've heard the stories about the gentleman in the East Coast where they had thousands of dollars worth of this stuff stockpiled in the hopes that they could turn a huge profit for all these people that were spending $30 for a small little bottle of hand sanitizer.
Yeah.
So the scams run that type of thing, where there's also vaccine scams now, contact tracing scams. If you get a call from someone that you don't know who's calling you, but yet they want all of your personal information to try and do contact tracing on you because you may have been in contact with someone, but they ask for your full name, your date of birth, your social security number, red flags should be going up. There should
Yeah.
be no reason why you give out any of that information over the phone, even on an email, unless it's directly something that you sought out to request. If you get one of those emails that have been phished to you, and we can get to that in a minute,
Hmm.
a lot of times they take you to a completely fraudulent website, and once you enter in all your information, it's gone.
Yep.
You've now basically handed over all of your account information to these folks. Um, but it still goes down the line. You'll get fake phone calls from the CDC or the WHO. We're here to contact you, and we need to, get your personal information to make sure that your current vaccine was correct. And what's your date of birth and your social, and they get all of your pertinent information. And once they have those things, you can run amok with someone's credit.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. And I always was kind of taught and heard, and maybe you can confirm or deny this, but I always was under the impression that if anybody ever just calls you up on the phone and starts asking for personal information, financial information, chances are there's something going on there. And is that, do
yes,
you see that mostly being the case?
Most of the time. And a lot of times you'll see it on telemarketer calls
Hmm.
because they're real smooth on how they do it. They'll ask you, "Oh, sir, can I get your name?" "Oh, I'm Robert Ewing." "Oh, and I see you're calling from this, or I've called you at this address. Is this your home address?" "Oh, yes. And this is a good phone number for you." "Okay, sir, I'm completing some information. And what's your date of birth?" And next thing you know, you just start thinking, "Oh, this is legitimate." And I
Right.
rattle off all that information, and there you go.
Yeah.
But those people are very good at what they do. You get some of them that are very well rehearsed on how they bring that backstory to life when they're talking to you. But then you get the other ones where you hear an accent, or the email, the verb tense, or the whole
Yes.
sentence structure isn't correct, and you know something's bogus. And if you start looking at, say, a little Wells Fargo emblem that's in the corner of the email, you can see that it's not quite as crisp and as clear as a legitimate one.
Yep.
So more often than not, err on the side of caution. Excuse me.
Sure.
The room that I'm in now, the lights decide to turn off on me and time out, so I need to make sure I'm not sitting in the dark. And as we mentioned, the EDD scams, that was billions of dollars worth of money that was taken fraudulently throughout this past year. There was an arrest in Pasadena just a little while ago where they had a gentleman riding or driving a Maserati with $175,000 worth of cash in the car,
Wow.
methamphetamine, guns, as well as numerous people's identity on EDD cards, and he was
Wow.
just raping the system for upon thousands of dollars.
Wow.
So a lot of it all stems from protecting your information, however you need to do it, whether it's protecting your mail, your bills that are done, your tax returns,
Hmm.
down to receiving those phone calls, making sure that you protect that information. Just like you would protect your house if you were leave for vacation, you lock the doors, set the alarms, have lights on timers. You want to make sure that you're not leaving that income tax file that you just got back from your tax guy on the front seat of your car and it gets stolen. Because now once that's gone, all that information's out there.
Yep.
So
And it's funny that you mentioned that because a lot of times, by trade, for the people that don't know, I work in real estate. I'm an agent, and all the time, I go into clients' homes and we're getting ready for, showings, which is basically strangers. I mean, we have a little bit of information on them, but for the most part, it's just pretty much just people. And we always have to remind them, hide car keys, hide extra house keys, hide any type of calendar that might have your schedule on it,
mhm,
hide any sensitive, checkbooks, check registers. All that stuff needs to be very well secured because you just never know who's looking at what. And last thing you want is to just give away your information and,
absolutely.
it's for it to be used against you.
And even down just on that topic, just down to a simple theft,
Hmm.
where they're in there looking at your house to purchase it, but they're going through your medicine cabinet. See, oh, I have codone pills. Those just now walk out the door. Your jewelry box, where you might all of a sudden miss a pair of earrings or a ring, they're looking for those easy things that they can seal on their body and take out with them. So
Hmm.
always err on that side of caution. We live in Southern California. If you want to keep it, you lock it up. It's
Yeah.
a very simple concept to think about. Um, and hopefully, after tonight goes through and we can spread the word to folks, it'll start sinking into everyone and we can make everyone safe in their homes.
Yeah.
So as you can see by the rest of the list, we'll get through the rest of them here, but a lot of the different things that we've had throughout the years previous to COVID have just been morphed into how they can use that same type of fraud scheme in regard to COVID related scams.
Hmm.
Internet scams, we talked about that. Phishing, you get that authentic looking email, you click on it, it looks legitimate enough, you don't quite catch it. Next thing you know, it says enter in your personal information or an account number. You click it and automatically it takes you to another website. It looks legitimate, but once again, you're entering all that information into a fraudulent site. And once that's out there, unless you have a credit check on your credit scores and everything right then and there, you'll be hard pressed to know that they're running amok with your credit because they're hitting things very quickly, very, very, as soon as they get it, they start running that information.
Hmm.
Cell phone scams, you'll get either phone calls or texts to your cell phone. A lot of times it says you need to click on this link and it'll take you to this for whatever reason. It could be anything from you've won to it's your bank that you need to verify some fraudulent account usage. So click on this link and it'll take you to that fraudulent site. And once again, you enter in that information, you've lost that information.
Yeah, and
And
it's one of these things where just like that with the text message back to the phishing email thing, uh, y- and I've had it happen to a couple family members where they get one of these texts or they get an email. A real popular one is the email one that's very basic and straightforward, and it has an attachment, and the body of the email is something very vague and short, like does this document look okay to you? And
Hmm.
then you go, well, I don't know what you're talking about, and you click open the attachment, and all of a sudden there's malware on your computer that's sapping your information in
Absolutely.
the background. Same goes for text scams. If you don't know who sent it or why they sent it, just write an email back and say, what is this regarding? And if they answer, at least you know you
Yeah,
have a real person. You can kind of
absolutely.
investigate a little bit further. So
Hmm.
definitely, same thing for text scams. They can come through, click this link, click here to download now. If you don't know who it is and you don't know what it's regarding, probably should leave it alone.
Absolutely, absolutely. Cyber attack is still the biggest thing that could be out there, whether it's a city website, city servers here, or your personal computer. There's another slide coming up where you'll see the whole thing of, oh, your computer's been infected. Click on this link and
Yes.
enter now, and
Yes.
automatically, oh, look, you've got a virus.
Yep.
Those are the nice ones. The other ones, I've had family friends where they've lost their whole entire desktop because of malware that was infected, and they've lost family photos, children's photos, important documents, everything you've kept, which we all keep on our desktops, laptops, even on our cell phones now.
Hmm.
Once you lose that information, even though you might pay the ransom, you may not get all that information back. So just be aware of what you are clicking on or what you're responding to. And like Joe said, just make sure you try and vet that information of what they're requesting of you, or even vet what it's coming from. If that company doesn't sound correct, or maybe rings a bell, question them. What's this about? And then from there, you can maybe get a contact number for them and call them directly.
Yep.
Internet scams. We just talked about the infection detected on your computer. A lot of times, and we just had one recently. I spoke with one of the detectives working the fraud cases now, where it was a couple $1,000s, where they were,
Wow.
the computer was infected on just the infection alone. Then they had to pay that at a local shop here to get their computer fixed. So they were out quite a good amount of money.
Yeah.
That it was one of those where they knew they shouldn't have done it, but once they clicked it, they were already into it, and by that time, what's done is done.
Yeah.
So the spoofed emails we spoke about, your account's been suspended, you've been paid too much. A lot of these things, they'll put those keywords in that memo line or info line to try and pique your interest. Like, oh, I've won. What did I win? You click on that button, and then it takes you down that rabbit hole, and who knows where you're going to end up? Hopefully unscathed, but you just never know.
I love the "you've been paid too much" one because believe it or not,
Yeah,
I've seen that one before, and
that's a
I've
quick delete. Delete that one.
yeah, and the interesting part is I watched a small YouTube video on a "we gave you money" scam, and I was thinking to myself, how
Mhm.
could this possibly work? How could I be scammed out of money if the scammer's telling me that they've given me the money? And the way that it works is they go, "We've given you too much money. We need you to give us back some of this money." But
Yeah.
we need you to go get us Target gift cards or Best Buy
Yes.
gift cards. And I'm, and I'm watching this video and I'm thinking to myself, how could anybody think that that's an acceptable form of payment? But when you couple that with you're going to lose all of your family photos that I have seized on your computer, or
Yeah.
you pay this, and people end up doing it. But I saw that one. I thought that was an interesting one because I just want to let people know that if anybody asks you to pay them in gift cards, chances
Fraudulent.
are it's not on the up and up.
Yeah. In another case we just had, and this was just recent as of a week or two ago, someone received a text about being a secret shopper. And their goal was to go out and go to Whole Foods and buy Google Play gift cards and Nike gift cards in the amount of about $1,500. Take pictures of the front and back with the code scratched off, send that to the person, and then they would mail him a cashier's check.
Hmm.
You go to deposit that in your bank, and a short time later, oh, that check's fraudulent. Now you're out to $1,500 without getting paid
Yes.
whatsoever. We've also had other ones where there were SCE scams or Edison scams, where they were calling local businesses. We're going to shut your power off because you're past on your bills. So you need to go get the green dot cards, which
Hmm.
along the same lines of, why would you go do that for Edison? You would pay online. I'll give you a check. I'll go to a local office and pay that there. But we had a couple businesses, and this was a couple years back, where they would actually pay their late fees with green dot cards, and they were tuned for a couple $1,000s as well, which is
Wow.
the unfortunate thing, thinking that that type of business would not ever take a green dot card or any sort of gift card as payment.
Yeah,
So
and
just
subsequently, I just heard one, a friend of mine, where their iTunes account or their Apple account was something happened, and we might have talked about this, and Apple needed to be paid in gift cards.
mhm.
And I say, I don't think Apple
They
needs to
have
be
their own
paid.
gift cards.
They got gift cards. They got plenty of
Yeah,
gift cards. They don't need
very
your
true.
gift cards.
Very true.
I do have our first question to pop up in the
Okay.
chat. And if you're going to cover this, then just let us know and we'll kind of skip this answer for now. But
Sure.
Alexandra in the chat has asked, are solicitors who go door to door required to have permits? A while ago, people from out of the area tried to sell me magazines for hospitals and such, but I wasn't sure about the authenticity of it. So what can you tell us about door to door
So
door
solicitors,
knockers?
we still have the solicitation ordinance in play here in Claremont,
Mhm.
which any door-to-door sales of things, whether it's solar, it's magazines, they're required to have gone through the process through City Hall. Business permit, each of their people will have an actual ID card that says solicitor. Their information will all be listed on that ID card, which you can call us out. You could actually look at that card and verify it with City Hall if they happen to call during the daytime. Almost 99% of the time, a lot of those fly by night companies where you'll have the white vans that show up and 10 kids pop out and start hitting all the neighborhoods,
Mhm.
they don't know the process. They just go city to city to city to try and sell
Sure.
those magazines. Whether or not you actually get your, sorry, the lights turned off on me again.
No worries.
Whether or not you actually get your magazine in the end, you may or may not.
Mhm.
Sometimes they are legitimate. You'll actually receive a product in the end, but then again, more often than not, they might not be. So anyone that's going door to door for an actual sale needs to have that solicitation permit in hand. Now, if it's something that's non-solicitation, whether it's it's a church group going door to door,
Mhm.
that's legal. Any First Amendment right type of thing is legal. We haven't gotten to the point where Girl Scouts with their great cookies. We
Yeah.
have not gotten to that point. That's more of not a charity, but more of a not donation, but they're trying to raise money for their group. So
Mhm.
it's exempt from that
Sure.
solicitation ordinance.
And now is there any difference that we're in, still in pandemic, COVID times? Right now, are solicitors allowed to go door to door? Has that been suspended? Do they need to be wearing masks? What's the protocol with that?
So masks are still in play. That won't be gone for a while, and we still have the city ordinance as well as the LA County health ordinance to couple with that.
Hmm.
Nothing was really put in play as far as shutting down the solicitation. Now the thing would be that if this was during the height of COVID, a lot of people, if someone came knocking on your door trying to sell something, I don't think
Yeah,
many people would answer the door to begin with.
sure.
Now at this point in time, I think things are slowly starting to get back into action. So we may be seeing more of that coming up,
Hmm.
but there's nothing really put in play that said, timeout, we're not doing that right now.
Hmm.
So you may get someone coming to your door. You can ask them through the door. You don't have to answer or open the door to them, but ask them through the door. Do you have a solicitation permit through the city?
Hmm.
No, I don't. Well, you have to have one. If not, I'm going to call the police. And we'll gladly come out and talk to that person and make sure they're aware, for one, make
Yeah,
sure they're not doing anything criminal, because a lot of times it's easy to
yeah.
pick up a book of those pamphlets and make it look like you're legitimate
Oh,
where you're
sure.
knocking on doors and no one's home. So I'll come back later and break into your house.
Yeah, I got the clipboard, I got a pen, I got a hat on. I am
Exactly.
supposed to be here. And likewise, on that note, follow-up question from Alexandra: would one report that person if they didn't have the proper credentials? Would they report it to City Hall or CPD, or what's the best way to
It
report
depends
that?
if you want something done right then and there, because a lot of times this is when City Hall's not open. It's on a weekend or it's in evening hours or after City Hall will be closed.
Hmm.
Call the police department. You can call us
Okay.
regardless anytime if you want us to go out in regard to that. If it's a matter of questioning whether or not they have that permit, I would call City Hall directly, and
Okay.
they would be able to research that and see whether or not one they have that permit. That way, you can at least vet that information. Say, okay, they've gone through the process. They're a legitimate salesperson. Then I can talk to them and see what they're trying to sell. And then you can still
Hmm.
say no and shut the door on them. It
Yeah.
just depends on what you get. But if there's any question at all, if you're questioning the validity or what the way they're acting, because we've had some of these people that are trying to sell you things and they're becoming irate at your doorstep.
Oh
Why
yeah.
won't you answer the door? Why won't you open the door? They start cursing at you. They start yelling. By all means, call us. We'll go make some new friends and find out why exactly they're within our city and advise them politely of the ordinance that we have that
Yeah.
gives us that legal reason why we can go contact them, and also to move them out of the area if they're not abiding by our rules. That's what's
Yeah.
been set forth by our municipal code that makes it nice for us to be able to live here.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And every once in a while, I'll go to clients' houses and I'll see the little no soliciting sign by the
Mm-hmm.
door, by the doorbell, or at the front gate. And
Yep.
obviously, signs don't stop everyone, but they might deter some people.
True.
And it's important to remind people that if someone approaches your doorstep, it's your doorstep,
Mm-hmm.
and you
That
can
is
tell
your
them to
property.
leave or not engage them, or whatever you need to do. And I always tell people, when in doubt, I live just down the street from CPD. I have called CPD probably more times than I can remember about certain various things going on around town. And
Yep.
don't be afraid to say, hey, as the signs say, as we all know, if you see something, say something.
Absolutely. And we'll go on any call. It's not one of those where, oh, we're not going to go with that today. We'll go on any call, especially if it's someone where they are irate at your house, knocking on your door, where you might be at home with your kids and your kids are starting to get a little scared due to that person pounding on the door. Give
Hmm.
us a call. And if it merits that point where you think it might be 911, the guy's really pounding on my door, call us 911. We'll make sure we get up there really quick to try and determine what exactly is going on with that type of situation.
Excellent. Good to know.
Okay. Real estate fraud. I know we kind of mentioned that a little bit as far as one of the topics, possibly. It runs the whole gamut with those two as well. And this might be more in your realm. It's been a couple years since I've been doing the real estate stuff
Yeah.
myself. But it's been about 7 since I've seen anything recent. So a lot of times where you used to have the adjustable rate mortgage, that's all out the window now. Balloon
Yep.
payments for the most part are gone. But there's still those things where there's rental fraud where, oh, I own this house. Someone knows it's
Yes.
vacant. They're going to rent it out without having any legal right to do so. We've had issues like that before where people have rented a home and they're paying this person
Yep.
thousands of dollars to rent this nice home and they have no legal right to that house whatsoever.
Yeah, and
Um,
that's interestingly enough a little bit more common than I originally thought before I got into the real estate industry. And I tell people usually 9 times out of 10 when I hear of that situation, I ask the person, hey, how did you hear about the property, or how did that person that got in trouble hear about the property? Oh, Craigslist.
exactly.
Usually
If you're
it's
looking
Craigslist.
Yeah, you really have to vet the information if you're going to one of those sites there. If it's not an actual broker place where you're looking to buy a house or rent a home, um, be very careful on how you're trying to vet that information of what's there. If it's a condo, if there's a management office or a HOA office there, check with them, make sure that place is for rent. If it's a home, maybe even check with the neighbors. Say, I'm looking to maybe possibly rent this home. Do you know anything about it? And they may tell you, no, the owners, it's not for rent. But then the other flip side of that is if you're looking to rent in that area, you can talk to the neighbors and find out what sort of neighborhood it's like.
There you go.
Another good thing to make sure you shop correctly for your neighborhoods. There's foreclosure scams. There's all sorts of different things as far as anything dealing with your equity that someone can take. They're
Yeah.
going to try and do, whether
Yep.
it's a fraudulent home equity line of credit, whether you're going to do new repairs to your house or anything like that matter. Make sure you read that fine print on the contract because a lot of those they're going to get you at the end where if you don't pay those payments you're going to have to refinance or you're going to have to pay a large sum at the end or they're just taking your money outright. So make sure you vet a lot of that information,
Yep.
and that's where that link is on that bottom. It's actually a PDF file. It's like a flyer that the LA County Sheriff's Department has put out. It's for the real estate fraud division. Now, if there's any crime that occurs here within Claremont, we'll handle it originally here.
Hmm.
But that PDF file has a lot of good information there, as well as contact information for the real estate board, a lot of different boards throughout the state that may be something for more information for people they're looking for any issues that are regarding real estate fraud.
Yeah, and that's a really good one to take a look at. And the home equity thing is probably even a little bit more so applicable to our local community here in Claremont
Mhm.
with the property values that we do have, especially recently with our city uh, being a great place to move to. Oftentimes, and with a more established community with people that have equity in their homes, all the time, we're seeing people come in and it's very easy. It's public record to figure out what someone owes on a property, and by doing a
Mhm.
little bit of basic addition and subtraction, pretty much anybody can find out how much equity roughly someone has in their home. And therefore, you can become a target to those types of things. And what we've been seeing a lot is people taking advantage of that equity and thinking, oh wow, this person has $300,000 or $400,000 in equity, and if I can just get a little piece of that, that's a lot, and they won't even
Absolutely.
notice or know it. So, and we're seeing that happen a lot with people, especially in my industry, giving incorrect advice
Mhm.
in the hopes that, hey, I can make you some money. But what they're not telling you is they're not making you all the money that they could be making you
Absolutely.
because they're taking some for themselves. And you ask, well, how could
Mhm.
that be? And there's certain avenues that go around that. And so it's one of those things where just do your due diligence, do your research, and if anybody just kind of like we were talking about with doorstep, if someone comes up and says, hey, I can help you with this or I can help you with that, all you need to do is just sign right here, or take a look at this iPad and sign on the iPad. that's
Hmm.
probably another red flag that
Yeah.
you should avoid dealing with that person.
Yeah, any immediacy that where you have to sign right now, make sure you just hit the brakes and think about it and make sure that's correct of what you need to do.
Yep.
Uh, vet the information, vet the information, vet the information as much as you can.
Yeah,
So
and I even I had it happen with actually a elderly relative of mine. And I said, hey, if anybody comes to your door and wants you to sign anything, just call me and tell me what they want you to sign. Just
absolutely.
call someone and just say, hey, I got this person here. They put an iPad in front of my face. They said they want me to sign for some little reason, but I don't know. What should I do? Just call someone. Heck, even call City Hall, call PD, call someone,
Mhm.
and just get another opinion on the situation.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Better to take your time as opposed to getting down that lane where you might not be able to return without losing too much out of your equity
Exactly.
or other things.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
all right. So, how do you go about protecting yourself? So, this is going to run through a couple different things where it's common sense. We've kind of touched on some of them before. Remove all your mail. We've had some folks where they don't check their mail. Sorry, lights going off again. They don't check their mail for days at a time and it stacks up in the mailbox. And all it takes, if you've seen video before, it takes a person in a car with a passenger or even on the driver's side. They'll drive up to mailboxes, open the door, and pull it out, and they're gone down the street before you can even look.
Yeah,
Now, you might catch it on a camera system, whether it's Ring or some other video or surveillance on your house, but that angle, we're not going to catch a license plate. So, unless someone sees that and calls that in, chances are your mail, which could be tax documents, could be a paycheck, could be new credit card or checks in the mail, all those things are now driving down the street with someone that you really don't want to have your information.
yeah,
So remove all that mail. If you have any outgoing mail, we used to put the little red flag up on the mailbox and leave it out front. Take it to your work, drop it off there. If there's a good mailbox that gets dropped off, or stop by the local post office, a blue mailbox. They've even gone so far on some of the mailboxes, at least the ones by City Hall here,
yes.
where at night they were having people doing the
Hmm.
fishing with a glue trap. They put it through the open draw, the drop box. It would go down in. It's sticky, and they pull out mail. Well, now they have something that actually closes that and secures it. It secures it at night, so we're minimizing that type of situation. The postal inspector is pretty good about trying to help out with that because they notice that a lot of the identity theft stems from mail theft.
Yeah,
So telemarketers, robocalls, anything over the phone, unless you can vet who that is, don't give any personal information out over the phone unless it's something you instigated. You're calling a bank, you're calling a company, you're trying to do something on your own behalf. Then you've started that contact. It's not something where you've received this call from someone that says they're here to do X, Y, and Z. I just need your credit card information, and we'll get that process started. And that's the last thing you want to do because once they have that, it takes a matter of seconds for them to start using that credit card online. And they have things ready to go, just purchase, 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 and you're out thousands of dollars before you even know that you have something bad in your credit. So make sure you're just trying to, once again, vet that information.
yes.
Hard to tell if it's legitimate or not. If it sounds too good to be true, like we said, it probably isn't. Their scams can range anything from prizes to travel to phony charities. I'm calling from the policeman's ball. Well, we
Yes.
don't hold those, so not really a legitimate thing. If it's something, once like we mentioned, if it's not correct when you think about it, just hang up on them. And that's the thing where you don't have to keep them on the phone. You don't have to be polite.
Yeah.
If it's somebody legitimate, they'll call you back, but hang up on the first time. If you don't think it's legitimate, hang up on them. So a couple of do's and don'ts. Ask them for their company's name and address. Vet that information. Find out who they are. If there's something they're trying to sell you on over the phone, say, it sounds great, but why don't you go ahead and mail me that information first? Mail me hard copies of this or email me copies of the paperwork. That way you can take your time, review that document, review that contract before you sign your life away. You can make sure that that's legitimate. And like Joe said, talk with your friends or family. If there's someone that's at your doorstep or trying to get you on the phone to make that decision right now, you have 30 seconds or you're going to lose out.
Yeah.
Say, call me back. I need to talk with some folks first, whether it's a family member, the police department, city hall, someone asking them for that advice will save you so much in the long run.
And if we just think about it again, it kind of goes back to the reoccurring theme of this evening, which is kind of just think about it.
Mhm.
It goes back to that theme where why is someone pressuring you? Why is there someone at your doorstep that's pressuring you to sign an iPad or sign a piece of paper or buy this candy bar or whatever it may be, or call you on the phone? Why would there be an overwhelming pressure to do something so out of the blue by someone who seemingly is random?
Yeah.
There's probably no
There
reason.
would be. There would be no reason.
Right, exactly.
And unless you started that phone call, there wouldn't be any reason for them all at all to say you have to answer right now, or you're going to lose this offer. Thanks, I'm going to lose the offer, and just hang up on them.
Right.
So just things to think about. Then also, if there's something where you're getting those repeat calls, ask to have them remove your number from the telemarketers list. That way, you don't get those repeat calls. Repeat calls. They seem to have died off for a while there. They were pretty bad, even though we had you go on no call lists.
Hmm.
But those robocalls somehow circumvented a lot of that, and then we had an uptick in that. But it seems like that's kind of, at least personally, it's kind of dropped off a little bit. I don't get as many at home, whether it's home or cell.
Hmm.
So that's, I don't know if everyone else has been experiencing the same thing, but it seems to be dropping a little bit from what it was in the past.
Yeah, I think it has gotten better. And I know, like, I have a phone powered by Google, and
Mhm.
there's a built-in screening feature where if a call
Yeah.
comes up that you don't know, you can hit screen, and it'll kind of like AI will take over and kind of vet the call for you, and will kind of
Yeah.
take the call. And I've used the feature, and it's great.
Yeah.
The calls I'm getting now more recently are, man, if I had a nickel for every time someone my auto warranty was going to expire,
Oh,
I
yeah.
I
Yeah.
wouldn't have to ever work or do anything.
And normally it's on a car you don't even own.
Yeah,
Oh, you
yeah,
have an '08 Honda Civic.
yeah.
No, I don't. But yeah, I'm sure my auto warranty is expiring, so I better buy it. I
Right,
don't even have the
exactly.
car.
Yeah.
So it's one of those where if you didn't ask for that quote or anything, just hang up on them. I don't
Yeah.
even take the time. I'm sorry, wrong number. Just hang up on them. It's
Yep.
not rude. It's just you're protecting yourself and not wasting your own valuable
And let's
time.
be real, they know the scammer or the fraudster on the other end in the business, they know that they're in a game of numbers, and they know that
Mhm.
99.9% of people are just going to click hang up, but
They're looking for that one.
they're looking for that
Just take
one
the one.
person, they're looking for that, that half a percent that says, hey, yeah, I do have $1,500 and I do need a car warranty. Absolutely. And
Let's
that's
buy
all they
that.
care
Yeah,
about.
absolutely. And it just takes that one. So let's not be that one tonight.
Yes.
So some of the don'ts, we saw it on there. Don't pay for prizes you're expecting to get. Don't give your credit card or anything over the phone unless it's something you've started. So a lot of the common sense things, like we said, don't be afraid to hang up on those folks. If it's something where you don't want to talk with them, or they're really, really pushing that sell, whether it's something you wanted or not. So you know what, I don't want to talk right now, and they'll keep going at you. Hang up on them.
Yeah.
I tell our records clerks, the unfortunate thing, we have some folks that decide to use a lot of foul language with our records people. I tell
Yes.
them, you have my permission to hang up on them. You are not paid enough to be verbally abused that way. Hang up
Yeah.
on that person.
Yes.
Let me talk with them. I'll gladly speak with them. But same thing goes with you being at home. If it's something where you think it's fraudulent, or they're not giving you correct information, or they're trying to give you the runaround, hang up on them. Or little nice polite excuse, I can't talk anymore, and just hang up.
Yeah.
Um, don't subject yourself to it.
Again,
It's not worth it.
it's your house, it's your front door, it's your telephone.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I don't want to talk with you. Tax season. We're right in the middle of it. It sounds like they've now
Yeah.
pushed tax season to May, which is good for some folks. Just know that the IRS will not call you. They will not call you or email you unless you've already had that process going on with them. You've already had an issue before. You will get a bill in the mail that says you're past due, or you owe X amount of taxes. It will say where to send that money to. It will say the United States Treasury. Make your check payable to them. It's not going to be Green Dot cards. It's not going to be Target gift cards.
It's
Once
not?
again, no, what? Oh, I gotta go. I gotta talk with them. It's one of those things where the IRS, huge entity, they deal with everyone across the U.S. with all their social security numbers and all the tax returns. So they're not going to take their time to call people. They're going to mass produce emails or bills that get sent out to people that owe. So just make sure if you get that phone call, it's fraudulent.
Hmm.
A lot of times they have spoof numbers, so we can't trace that number. But if you do happen to get something where you think it might be valuable, give us a call. And if we can investigate it at that point in time, at least maybe we can get information out to the other folks in the city that, hey, we've been receiving a rash of these phone calls or these emails or text messages in regard to X, Y, and Z. That
Hmm.
way we can spread that information out to other folks to try and keep other people from being victimized.
Yeah, and that's a really great point, because even as something as obviously I follow Claremont PD on Facebook, and it's one of those things where if you guys get a couple of reports, and oh, hey, just want to put a PSA out via
Mhm.
Facebook, hey, just so you know, this is going around, this scam is going around, this person is going around, whatever it may be, that could that one post could
Mhm.
be the difference between someone being out 500, 1,000, 15, whatever it may be.
Absolutely.
And it's interesting that, regarding the IRS phone call, an associate in my office today on speakerphone got called, and oh no, red alert, your Social Security has been suspended and you need to call us right now in order to
Yeah.
not lose your Social Security benefits.
And if you were not thinking about the whole context of that call being completely out of off base, you would think, I need my social security when I
Yeah,
come to retirement age. I need to have that there. So
yeah,
some people might go dial the number, talk to them. I need to verify your social security number. Oh, sure, it's 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9. And your name's what, sir? Oh, okay, Joe. Hey, Joe. Oh, okay, thanks. Oh no, you're fine. Everything's fine in your account
yeah,
now. Well, they said your full name and your social security number, and then
yep,
they're off and running.
yep,
So just things to be aware of that there's a bunch of bad folks out there trying to take your hard-earned money.
absolutely.
So things to be aware of. Additional things on how to protect yourself. All of your receipts, your credit card receipts, financial statements, bills, anything pre-approved credit applications or those pre-approved credit cards in the mail. Shred them if you don't need them. Tax returns, keep them the allotted time that you need to have them. I think it's 7 years, I believe. Keep those on hand. Everything else, if you don't need it for a warranty or anything else, you don't need to keep boxes and boxes of those forms, because eventually you get to the point where you go, I don't need that entire box in the garage. I'm just going to throw it out. Well, that's where our dumpster divers or our trash diggers get all of that good information. It's got good account numbers for your credit cards.
Yeah,
It's got all that information ready to go that they can readily use right then and there. So let's think about those things you may have them sitting around the house. Other ones. So this looked like my former credit or my former wallet where I had too many things in my back pocket until my sciatic started acting up. Extra credit cards in your wallet you don't need anymore. You can even pay with your phone now, Apple Pay, Google Pay.
yeah,
You have the apps on your phones if you want to do that. We don't need those stacks of credit cards anymore, or all that information that's in there, because what that is more little pieces of your personal identity that can be used to go take from you right off the bat if they go to some of these stores where they don't check ID. Target and Walmart, a lot of times they don't check ID on a credit card. We've
yes,
had
it's true.
video of surveillance from where we have suspects where they had broken into a car, stolen someone's purse, and they're trying card after card after card while the clerk watches them, and not once do they ask for ID.
Oh my
They just
gosh.
start scanning the card, trying to get one after the other to go until one goes, oh, look, this one works.
Wow.
So if you don't use those cards, leave them at home, save them in an envelope in a desk drawer at home, or in a safe or a deposit box, whatever it might be. You don't need them. Keep them at home. Keep one or two in your pocket, in your wallet, in your purse, pocketbook, whatever it might be. Keep it that way, just because it minimizes the amount of, if that were to be stolen. Now you have to remember which card you had in your wallet or your pocketbook, and then you have to know which bank that was in order to call them and say, hey, I need to stop all those credit cards because my wallet's been stolen. And if
Yeah,
you have 10 plus cards in there, I doubt anyone would have all that information readily available to say, I'm calling this number and then that number and that number, and here's all the credit card numbers in order to shut that down.
yeah,
So it minimizes that issue.
and even if you have all this stuff in your wallet and you think, oh well, I'm very, I guard my purse or my wallet very carefully. Well, we've all lost things,
Hmm.
and that can happen to anyone at any time for any reason. Obviously, there's a lot going on in the world today, and it's very easy to set something down, leave it somewhere, it falls out, and last thing you
Yeah, it's
expected
gone.
was to lose 10 credit cards, and now your
Absolutely.
day is consumed with correcting that little error.
Which is a big, big headache.
Yes.
So just different points to look here. Order a copy of your credit report. You can do that from any one of the three major credit reporting companies at least once a year, just to see if there's any new lines of credit that have popped up that you haven't opened. Once again, that would be that identity theft in action. So in that, one of the last slides will have those three different websites that are there: TransUnion, Equifax. All those will be listed for you as far as contact for them. So other things, anything that changes, whether it's change of address, phone numbers, contact your credit institutions, financial institutions right off the bat. That way they're aware. So say Joe sells you a house, you've now moved, and all of your mail wasn't forwarded and you haven't changed an address, but the new people that bought your old house are not the most upstanding of folks, and they have all of your great mail that comes to them, new checks, new credit cards, and who knows what they may do with it. So
Yes.
just different things to think about. If you are expecting those new credit cards or checks, make sure you're looking for them. A lot of times, if you've lost that credit card, companies are pretty good about expediting that, almost overnighting a credit card to you. So you know it'll be there within the next day or two. If it doesn't show up by the end of that week, contact that company and make sure that it either was delayed in the sending, or, oh no, that got delivered on the 1st of May and it's now the 8th of May. You
Hmm.
should have had it by now. It's probably been stolen from that mail and now fraudulently used. So things to think about on just those things of, oh yeah, I guess if you think about it, that makes sense.
Yeah.
immediately report all his lost or stolen credit cards. Once again, that thick wallet makes it harder to do, but the time that it takes for these crooks to say just break into a car and steal a wallet and then go use them can be within minutes, especially with a Target in Laverne, Walmart in Upland, or any gas station. They can be used within minutes of being
Yeah,
stolen.
and like you said, we're and where we are. I mean, this is Southern California. This
Mhm.
is the automobile capital of the world. There's
Yeah.
multiple major interstates,
Yes.
and it's very easy to make a clean getaway, if you will. And another thing to think about too is, at least I know, obviously I do mobile banking on my phone. People need to be aware of the tools that they have to fight this stuff.
Hmm.
One of the features that I have used, and a lot of credit cards are starting to come with it, and debit cards, is the freeze function on your
Hmm.
mobile banking app. So if you do misplace your credit card or your debit card, and you go, I don't know where it is, it might be lost, it might be stolen, you can immediately pull up your app, and with a couple clicks of the button, you can freeze that debit or credit card until you figure out, hey, it's lost, hey, it's stolen, or actually it just fell in between the couch cushion and I got it and it's good to
True.
go. So make sure you're aware of the tools and resources that you do have, because a lot of banks are offering those types of things now.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Uh, Talking the same thing about credit cards. Know when they expire, so when you know that there's new one coming in the mail, just be ready to look for that and make sure it's not there. None of this is new stuff. It's not surprising. We've all seen this before, whether it's on the news or you've heard of a friend that was victimized one way or the
Yeah.
other. But the internet just makes it a lot more readily available for these crooks to go out and do these frauds and scams, because everyone's on the internet 24/7, whether
Yes.
you're here or across the world, and it doesn't take much for them to type up a fake email and start phishing. And you'll be surprised at the amount of people that they can send that to, when you can mass send that through mailing lists to thousands upon thousands of people. And it just takes that one person, and they're making a lot of money,
Hmm.
especially when they have banks of people that are working with them, banks of computers where they have people doing that fraudulent stuff on the high end of things. So just make sure you know what you can do to protect yourself. That's the name of the game for this evening. We've talked about this. We've kind of beaten that dead horse. If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is.
Yes.
Protect your personal information just like you would protect everything else. You want to protect your car, so you lock it up. You want to protect your house, lock it up. You want to protect your personal information. Keep that personal identifying information for you safe. Whether it's keeping the bills at home, your wallet safe, whatever it might be. Um, and like I said, just verify that information. If you're ever banking with someone, make sure it's something where you instigated the original contact with them, or if you get that email, try and vet it first before you just start clicking on boxes.
Hmm.
Mention the credit agencies. We're just about done, at least with the PowerPoint, so we can go to questions. I know I've been probably a little long-winded.
Oh, this is
But
great. This is good info.
perfect. Any one of the three main credit reporting agencies, Equifax, Experian, or TransUnion, you can, if you have a fraud alert, as soon as you report it to one of them, they'll cross-report to the other two. So you don't have to call each and every one of them. You just report to one of them, and that there's been a breach of my security as far as my information. They'll put a fraud alert on there, so it automatically reports to the other three or the other two.
Hmm.
So those are good websites to have just in case. But these are all easily found on the internet. The fraud information, all these websites pretty much on their main page will have scams. That's the name of the game for what they've got out there for people trying to protect themselves. So you've got the Federal Trade Commission, Social Security Administration, the U.S. Postal Inspection Service. All those links for those websites will help take you to a lot of more information. They have pages upon pages of fraud information. The more, even if you just browse through each and every one of them for a couple minutes each, the more information you get, the more well prepared you'll be.
Hmm.
So just trying to make sure we go out and protect ourselves. Office of the Inspector General, that was more along the lines for Health and Human Services, along the lines of COVID and those types of related scams. AARP for senior folks. There's a lot out there. Unfortunate thing is that they go after a lot of the elderly.
Yeah.
Because they see them as an easy victim, which is not the case. I know a
Right.
lot of folks that are just extremely sharp for being in their upper 70s, 80s, and even into the 90s. And
Yeah.
I hope I'm that way when I get to that age. But the
Yes.
unfortunate thing is that is a number one thing where a lot of folks, at least elderly, are being victimized. And then
Yeah,
the FCC as well.
and that seems to be kind of the I don't want to say the target demographic of scammers, because honestly, it seems as they'll just target anyone they can. They don't seem
Absolutely.
very picky about
Absolutely.
what they can get, but it does definitely seem like uh, the and the stories that I've heard and sort of the interactions that I've had in kind of my personal world tend to be with people, in their 70s and into their 80s, and it's really important. And like we said, if people are out there and they fall into that demographic, don't be afraid to say, you know what, I don't exactly understand all of this. I need to talk to someone who I know.
Mhm.
I need to talk to my son or daughter. I need to talk to my
Absolutely.
wife or husband, or call a police department or someone,
Mhm.
because they can be very tricky.
Very true. Very true. So, like I said, the Federal Communications Commission, more information there. So, a lot of those would be good to go back and look through. Or if you just start doing a Google search of any sort of fraud scam that you may have heard about in the area, or just something you want to look at, it will blow your mind on the amount of things that are out there, whether it's this state or any state across the union. The amount of dollars that are spent trying to bring that debt cost down, but it's millions of dollars, not billions, depending on some of those
Yeah.
fraud schemes that are out there. So just things to be aware of. My contact information there as well. The phone number is a generic number here for the police department, but you can leave a message for me or email. Feel free to email me. And then, as you had mentioned, the red signs all over the city, see
Yeah.
something, say something. It helps out a lot because whether you folks know how the city is broken down or not, we have, sorry, I'm getting the light to go back on. We have 4 officers that work the city any one point in time during the day or night, with 1 to 2 supervisors working with them. So that's for the population of over 35,000 people. So the more we have you out there being our eyes and ears for us, you see that person that's driving down, opening up mailboxes, call us right then and there.
Yep.
You see someone hopping your neighbor's fence, and walking back out with a television or a pillowcase full of jewelry. Call us right then and there. It's almost to the point where it's no call too small. We'll go on that. We go on
Yeah.
barking dog calls to people with gas powered leaf blowers. We go on everything. But the more you can see out there for us and get those calls into us on a legitimate crime that's going down, where we can stop people from being victimized, you're helping us do a better job. So
Yeah, and along the same lines, and I'm going to talk to Chat here for a second. Chat, if you have any questions or any kind of last things, please put your questions into chat. I'd be happy to relay them. I'm so glad you kind of brought that up, no call too small type of thing, because I lived in an apartment building in Claremont, and one day I pulled out to go somewhere, and I pulled out of my garage, and I saw a gentleman kind of standing next to a car that I didn't recognize. I recognized the car, I didn't recognize the gentleman. And again, this
yeah,
is in my apartment complex where I loosely have an idea of who's supposed to be around and not.
you know who belongs.
And as I drive slowly through the long driveway, I kind of look into my rear view, and I'm just going, something doesn't feel right. And as I get out to the end of the driveway where it meets the street, there's another gentleman who I don't recognize, who also looks suspicious to me, and he's on a cell phone. And I look back, and the other gentleman down the alley is on a cell phone. And so I'm pulling out, and I'm thinking to myself, this seems weird. And so sure enough, I get about 30 seconds down the road, and I was like, I'm calling CPD about this. They need to
Perfect.
check this out.
Perfect.
And sure enough, as I'm driving up Bonita, a police cruiser is driving down Bonita, and so it's really important, because you just never know. That could have been the leapfrog to identity theft. That could have been the
True. Absolutely.
the time for Grand Theft Auto. Who knows? I mean, those suspects could have been looking to steal a car to commit an even worse crime with said
Hmm.
stolen car. So
Absolutely.
you just really don't know, and I'm really glad to reiterate, no call too small. Like I said, at the end of the day, it's your house, it's your property, it's your phone line, it's your stuff. Take control of it, hide it, lock it up, and don't be afraid to call people and reach out and get a second opinion.
Absolutely.
I'm going to see here if there's anything. It looks like chat's questions have been answered.
Okay.
So if anybody has any questions out there, you can feel free to contact me directly. You can contact Sergeant Ewing directly. Obviously, if anybody in chat needs those links or those resources, let me know. Everybody, I think, has my email, and I'll be happy to get kind of that going for you. Again, Sergeant Ewing, thank you so much. This has been really hugely beneficial. I know you can't see my chat, but I'm getting all sorts of
Good.
great reviews and
Oh,
positive
good. Good.
positive things. So I think that a lot of people really got some positive information from this. And like you said, when we were chatting kind of in our pre-presentation, um, it only takes one person. If we can just get one person and save them the grief, the headache, the trouble, then it definitely makes it all worth it. So I appreciate
Absolutely.
I appreciate that, and I appreciate you doing this.
Very
Um,
welcome. I'm glad everyone found it entertaining, at least, if not
yes.
informative. So that's
No,
good.
it's been great. So next month we have Sonia Stump from the Village Marketing Group. She's going to join us. She's going to talk a little bit about what's going on in the village. Obviously, as we kind of touched on in this meeting and in last meeting, COVID is going our way a little bit. So things are kind of loosening up a little bit, and We're going to talk to Sonia Stump about what's going on with the Village Marketing Group, what's happening in the village. Obviously, we have Village South expansion kind of now kicking off as well. So look forward to that. Of course, we'll have an email blast a couple days before the presentation and meeting. If anybody has any feedback about any of the topics that we've covered, the meeting and how it's presented, if anybody needs anything, feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to answer any questions. And like I said, we're still kind of getting the hang of this virtual setup. We have been talking. It looks like we might be able to do our membership meetings in person maybe in the next couple of months. So stay tuned for that. And hopefully we'll be able to all meet again very soon. For now, again, I'd like to thank Robert Ewing one more time. Thank you so much, Robert. I really hope everybody enjoyed the presentation. And until next time, we'll see you all later. Have a good
Good
evening, everyone.
night.
Bye bye.
Bye.